What's up, World Report family? It's your boy C-Dub. Auburn football returns to the practice fields for another week of spring practice. We'll give you updates on what we've been seeing from them. Also, we will discuss Auburn basketball as SEC tournament play begins for them this Friday. We'll discuss that and our thoughts and more in tonight's edition of the Mid-Week Rapport. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Midweek Report, courtesy of the Rage Room. An amazing company, 2 locations. If you're in the Opelika area, you see the address below, or if you're in the Birmingham area, you see the address below. Come and break stuff, all right? Have a good time with friends, or if you just want to relieve some stress, head over to the Opelika Rage Room or the Birmingham Rage Room. We definitely want to show them some love for agreeing to be a sponsor of the Midweek Rapport. Thank you guys for coming in and then having a convo with us about Auburn athletics. Share this video, smash that like button, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Or you can become a member and get you some perks. Ike, tell them how to do that, sir.
It's real simple. You click that join button, you get to come on board with the Green Name Gang. You get your own chats. You get your own film reviews. Just everything is catered. We cater to you, like the who is it, Destiny's Child song?
That would
except
be cool.
not like that at all, because yeah, that's weird. But yeah, you can gift memberships too if you want to do that. You can come out here and give somebody else the gift of the War Report, and they have a free month on you. It'd be real nice if I saw like 3 people do this today. Do a kind thing today. 3 people who are members, give somebody else a free month. I'd appreciate that very much. And come on board with the network, man. Listen to all the different voices that we have talking Auburn sports. The Auburn Express podcast is who we are. The Uptempo podcast over there doing a great job with baseball right now. Shout out to the gang over there doing that. And the College Loop. They do a great job of just covering everything in general. But yeah, man, shout out to the guys that are part of the network. We appreciate them so much for continuing to get you guys all of the great Auburn sports media you deserve.
Guys, Auburn returns to practice this week after having a week off due to spring break. Our own Mike G was there to view the Auburn Tigers. Just kind of an overall, returning back. I think this was the last week where they were just in shorts, Mike, I think, or last day they was in shorts, I think. You're muted, by the way.
They had on full pads.
They had on full pads.
They had on full pads yesterday.
Okay. So how did they look overall? Just what did you happen to look at? We'll go position group by position group, but just kind of your overall assessment of kind of what you saw.
Look, everybody returned from spring break on Sunday. So some people, I heard, guys, did you guys know kids are still going down to Panama City for spring break?
I can believe
anybody does as far as spring breaks.
I thought that ended around 2008. I did.
Did I click that on accident? Anyway.
Yeah. I ain't eat nothing. You didn't see me eat nothing. Yeah, like the guys got back. A lot of people got back to town yesterday. They got immediately back into the groove. Their days start around 7 a.m. There's practice, there's film review, there's position meetings that they have to go through. It's pretty tight from 7 a.m. to about 8 p.m. for a lot of these guys, but they hit the practice field yesterday. We got our normal 20-minute viewing period, as well as an extra 20 minutes, courtesy of Hugh Freeze. He walked right into my camera and said, guys, you can stay out here a little bit longer. So what did we see during that period? Well, they did a little team period, and we got to see them slinging the ball around to wide receivers. I stuck mostly with quarterback and wide receiver yesterday. Look, man, the quarterbacks look like they're still looking for their groove. I can tell you, you remember the reports that we got last fall about how well Holden was doing in camp? Again, watching him during the periods that we got to see, it's so easy to understand why people are like, Holden's killing it. Guys, I'm talking about dropping dots from 50 yards out on guys. He made a couple of really, really impressive deep throws to receivers on like stop and go routes that was insane. You know, Thorne looked like Thorne. Again, Hank Brown looked like he had a little bit of an up and down practice, but his arm talent is obvious. And then you have Walker White. It's clear that they've separated the experienced vets from the young, inexperienced guys at this point. So they're still running Thorne and Gurner together and Brown and White together for the most part, just in the part that we watched. So that's kind of what I've noted about the quarterbacks. Nothing stood out as terrible to me, right? It was just, you know, normal spring flow stuff. Now the receivers.
Let's talk about them.
Now the receivers. Now the guys that are catching the ball from them. Cam Coleman, if he's not the best receiver that's ever come through Auburn, Auburn did something wrong. I'm telling you, when you watch him, the time since the bowl game, since we last saw Ike and I last saw him on the field somewhere at Auburn, to now, he has changed his body significantly, guys. He has, you know, he was always kind of lean, you know, tall and lean. He's put on a significant amount of muscle, at least from the eye test. Looks just as fast and is still just catching everything that's. I didn't see him. I saw him probably getting a chance to catch about 20 to 25 balls while we were out there. Didn't come close to dropping one. And there were drop passes during that period. Cam Coleman is going to be him. He's already him. We're just waiting to see it on the field. It's pretty clear. Now, who else stood out at wide receiver? They're still kind of going with the seniority thing there too, guys. A lot of Coy Moore. Cam Brown was doing a lot of work before everybody else while other people stood back and watched. I was looking for Caleb Burton out there. He was out there. Nothing stood out about him to me. But look, man, this is a Cam Coleman show out there. Jay Fair was out there being his normal Jay Fair self. But I liked what I saw from Cam Coleman. I don't. They're already treating him like he's going to be wide receiver one, if you ask me, just from what we saw. Now, we don't get to see the rest of practice, but, you know, receiver looks like it's going to be in good hands. And whoever takes the quarterback job, you're going to throw the ball at Cam Coleman as much as possible because he's going to make you look good. If you're having a bad day, Cam Coleman will write you a nice note, bring you some coffee, make you breakfast. You're going to feel real good after you come in contact with Cam Coleman. I mean, he just looked outstanding out there yesterday.
So I don't know if you had a chance to even pay attention to these guys. You said you was watching receivers. As far as newcomers are concerned, Robert Lewis, Sam Jackson, managed to see any of those guys? Did they stand out any?
Yeah, I saw them. Like, again, nothing stood out about those guys. Again, it was a lot of routine stuff. You just got to remember during these viewing periods, we see a lot of routine drills. We didn't take any video during the stuff that was not so routine per the request of the staff. But look, man, they're giving everybody a shot to prove what they can do. And that's what I will say about what we saw.
And that's that receiver.
Yeah. Like, look, man, Sam Jackson, if I'm giving my opinion on Sam Jackson, the quarterback that came from Cal, he's not a receiver. Sam Jackson is not a receiver. And I can't see at this point that he would get playing time over anybody that's currently in the room. So it's nice that they got him, but I don't expect him to make an impact here at that position.
Interesting.
I've heard, I've talked to a few people around the situation. I've actually heard some really good things about Robert Lewis. Again, as far as I think he's bigger than what people assumed he would be, right? Like you see him come from a place like Georgia State and they just like think, oh, like he looks just kind of bigger than what you would assume he's going to look like based upon what you look at his measurables and you see him in person. You're like, oh, he kind of built stoutly for a dude that's supposed to be this height, this weight. And then a little faster than what I think the tape even shows.
Yeah.
So I'm I'm cautiously optimistic that he'll be able to stabilize the room a little bit more as far as the rotational depth that's going to be there. And, you know, I think Bryce Kane is another guy who, from a just pure speed perspective, he's as advertised when it comes to his ability to just straight line, get after it. I think he can do that really well. Again, from what I haven't seen a single practice. I'm just kind of reading and hearing from people who have been there and seen. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that wide receiver room. But yeah, I think everybody is just the physical specimen that is Cam Coleman just kind of stands out immediately. So when they walk up there. But here's the thing I want to caution everybody, because they did the same thing with Nick Martner last year, and I'm not saying he's Nick Martner at all. But they definitely did the same thing with Nick Martner last offseason, where it was like, oh my God, his
physical presence.
He's 8 feet tall and he can jump over. I saw him jump the goalpost one time, and it's like, oh man, it's going to be amazing. And then you just never. I definitely don't think the outcome is going to be the same. But I think people definitely fall in love with the physique a little bit. And, you know, hey, Cam Coleman being already physically there as a true freshman coming into the spring means that his upside can be tremendous.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I will tell you this. When you and I went out to a practice last year and we saw Martin, and his physical presence does stand out. Like he draws your eye when he walks by. You're like, damn, that's a big guy, right? Cam Coleman is physically more imposing than Nick Martner. And Martner will really draw your eye. But I'm telling you, when Cam Coleman walks by, I was looking at, I mean, clearly he's been hitting the weights. He took his physical conditioning seriously these last 2 months. It stood out to me. And I'm like, listen, if he's willing to put in the work, that kind of work right now, wait till he hits the field in the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's got kind of like a quiet demeanor. He's a little bit of a quiet kid, a little bit of a jokester around his friends. You know, he's a guy that's going to keep an even keel. He's not going to get rattled, but he's clearly putting in the work. And then watching the interaction, Ike, between him and his position coach, how they were coaching him, they're invested, man. They're not that they're not invested in the other guys, but like it's just a different presence around him. Like they're making the investment into Cam Coleman. They will not let Cam Coleman bust here at Auburn. I hear me out. They will not let Cam Coleman bust here at Auburn. I don't care if they got to throw 100 balls a game his way. They're going to make sure he gets his catches.
Well, listen, I would be very happy to see an offense that is saying, these are our playmakers, let's get them the ball. Like it's a thing that has been sorely missed. I think I don't want to see quarterbacks forcing the ball to a receiver in bad situations, but I do want to see offenses that are geared towards getting the ball to playmakers, if that makes sense, right? Like there's a difference, right? There's a difference between the old, he's down there somewhere, let's just throw the ball to him, and hey, we're going to scheme this situation so this guy is wide open, or hey, this play is designed so that it clears this portion of the field to get this person the ball. And that is the difference between, I think, you know, good play calling and good offensive play design. And hey, we just got some dudes. Let's go out here and play backyard football. And I don't want to see backyard football. So
yeah, I think that's been pretty noteworthy of previous Hugh Freeze's offense, is that he got the balls of those receivers, like those guys that made a name for themselves. Is because Hugh Freeze was scheming those guys open to get them the ball. I'm looking forward to seeing a return of that. This year. Go ahead, Mike.
Fantastical statement about Cam Coleman. I don't think there's a bad situation, Ike, to throw Cam Coleman the ball. Even when it's bad, it's good. This guy is going to be the thing that changes this offense for these quarterbacks and for Hugh Freeze. You know, now we talk a lot about like the QB maybe saving the coach's job in some scenarios when they go out and they perform. But how wild would it be at Auburn for a receiver to be that guy? Where it's just like, you know what? Just throw it up to Cam. He'll make a play. That's what I think Auburn has been missing at the receiver position. You know, in the better years of Auburn sports, think about it. In the 2010 season, no matter what, you just knew they were going to make a play. The 2013 regular season was like that too. You didn't always know who was going to make it, but you know if they needed a first down, Trey Mason was going to pick it up. Cam Coleman could be kind of like a Trey Mason of the wide receiver room. And when I say that, you talk about a guy who ran for 1,800 yards. He put up Heisman numbers in a single season. Cam Coleman has the potential to do that. Now, catching passes is a little different than taking handoffs, obviously. It's a lot more complicated getting a pass to a receiver than it is handing the ball off to a running back. But if they can get the ball anywhere in his vicinity, he's going to make an impact. He's going to make an impact. The only way he doesn't make an impact is if you literally just don't throw the ball at him. Or you throwing it in the dirt. Or 15 feet over his head. 10 feet over his head, he still might catch it. Like, that's the type of impact that he's going to make on this offense. They hit a home run. I mean, this might be the top 5 prospect at Auburn. Kind of like how they felt guys when they landed Byron Coward. It's like number 1 overall player. You're thinking he's the number 1 overall player. He's got to be a star. He wasn't here. I think that Cam Coleman is that type of can't miss prospect. He's going to be successful. He's going to be successful. The only way he doesn't do it here is if they literally just don't give him the opportunities. And I don't see that happening under Hugh Freeze. Because that's his guy. He's going to force him the ball any way he can.
If he lives up to the hyperbole that Mike is throwing at him right now, then we're gonna get Mississippi State Peyton Thorne next year, right? Because that's what
Michigan State.
Michigan State.
Okay,
I don't know why I always say Mississippi State when I'm start talking about that, but Michigan State Peyton
Both
Thorne.
of them suck. So.
Because that was the situation where at Michigan State it was just like, well, he has these amazing receivers and he's just throwing it up to another guy named Keon Coleman, who is just like, all right, just put it in my vicinity, I'll go get it. And if you find one other guy who can be like that, then you can get the kind of results that you would get that year where he went crazy, because you got a great running back. You got to throw it in my vicinity receiver. You just need one other guy who's a good route runner who can take the top off the defense, and you have the recipe for the kind of guy that Michigan State Peyton Thorne that people were
you might be on to something. Is that
a good run game?
Yeah, is that the key to unlocking Thorne? I just have a guy named Coleman to throw to.
I guess.
Right? Okay. Yeah, I'm with it. I can live with that.
I can live with it as long as his interception to turnover.
Put Coleman on everybody's jersey in the wide receiver room for games. Just
Why they got 8 Colemans out
there? He only knows how to throw the guy's name Coleman.
Mike, let me ask you this, man.
I like that.
As you watched some of the games, some of the receivers in practice, and you're thinking about what's coming behind these guys in terms of the true freshmen who are going to be enrolling in the summer. Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons. Do you see opportunities for those guys to step in the summer, potentially make some noise as well?
Yeah, 100%. Look, Hugh Freeze is going to open this thing up. Hear me out. There were times last spring where we would go out and watch practice, and I would not see Hugh Freeze the entire time. I've been to 2 practices, and both times he has walked directly into my camera and said something directly to me. He's out here. The attitude around this thing is different this spring. So he's going to open this up, and yes, the door will be open for those guys. If you were a Hugh Freeze recruit, the door is going to be open for you to make an impact in year 1. Now, they're still going to be smart about how they go about that. I said it earlier. They're saying Derek Nix is bringing more of a serious kind of feeling to the room right now, but the guys seem to like that. And the players that I've talked to, they said, we need that. So he's bringing more of a business-like approach to this, and we'll see if it pays off. Now, it's not to say that the approach before was bad or it didn't work, but the guys do seem to be taking to Derek Nix's leadership early in camp, and we'll see where that goes for them. So I expect Perry Thompson and Malcolm Simmons, even though they're arriving after this, last spring period, to have a shot to get on the field and do something early, because the block is hot, guys. It's the block is hot here, right? Like year 2 cannot be a 6-win season. You got to get to 7 wins, and you got to make the other 5 look competitive. But they have the schedule to do that. I'm telling you, the margin for error is razor thin. That stretch that goes Oklahoma, Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri, I think, or Missouri, Kentucky, in the middle of the season, that's the stretch that defines the season for Auburn. So from A&M to Arkansas, figure it out. Then split that stretch, and then going into November, you have a chance to really create some buzz around this program. Because what we've seen is he had a lot of recruiting momentum at the end of this last cycle. Now, Kalen DeBoer has arrived on campus, and he said, look, I'm not as good as Saban at recruiting, so break the bags out. That's how they got that one kid back. You won't be able to convince me otherwise. People are complaining about Auburn getting decommits right now, even though it's only March. I just think the money's going to start flying, and now's where proof of concept will help you hold on to what you have and keep the momentum that you created in year 1 of your first full recruiting cycle. So you got to go show it on the field next year, and I think that Freeze understands that, which is why I don't think he holds anything back this year, except for maybe at quarterback, because he's trying to get to the right side of 2025 without destroying what he's built so far.
Sure.
And unfortunately, you pick the wrong quarterback, it could screw up a lot for you in today's college football. So
I'm more worried about what it will like. I'm not as worried as everybody else is about whether or not the receivers that are already here will want to leave. I'm more worried about them trying to recruit more receivers in the next cycle. That's a bigger problem for me if they don't get the quarterback right this year. I still firmly believe you could pick the wrong quarterback this year and it go poorly, and those guys will stick it out for another season because, again, I don't think that they were sold on. I still think they were sold Walker White as the future vision.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And so if he doesn't see the field in year 1, then they're like, all right, but Walker's playing next year, right? Like that's when you get into but I don't know that you get another freshman to be like, I know for the first 2 years it was bad, but trust me, this other guy's. I don't know that anybody's going to believe
facts.
that.
That's facts, right? Yeah. And to bolster what you're saying, they're out there throwing Walker right probably right now as we're talking. Right?
Yeah,
the guys that you're talking about that need to come back, plus some of the key guys that were already here, they're out throwing Walker White right now. They've all bought into him as the future. Certainly, he's taken it upon himself to be forward thinking in terms of that leadership. And by the time it gets to 2025, I think it's one of those things that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I think Walker White, like the only way Walker White doesn't start at QB in 2025 is if, I don't know, think of some impossible thing that could happen in your mind that would never happen. And like, that's what it would take for Walker White not to be the starting QB.
I mean, you got injuries and stuff like that can get in the way of that, but
yeah, right. Like injury, like something completely out of Walker's control.
Right.
But it's not going to be because somebody else beat him out. I'm going to tell you that right now. Nobody's beating Walker White out for the job. Now, they may be handed the job, but I don't even see that, man. This is Freeze's guy. Of all the QB prospects that Auburn has had since Jarrett Stidham, I might be the most excited about Walker White than I have any of them. Since 2017, I've not been more excited about a quarterback than I have been about Walker White. Yeah. So I like this. I like this kid, man. I think he is a offensive coordinator's absolute perfect dream of a player. And if he continues to work and he recognizes where he still needs to improve as well, he's got no ego about that. And he refuses to accept mediocrity. And what I like about that is that as far as the receivers that we're talking about, he will refuse to accept mediocrity from them as well, too. Walker White's attitude is if I'm going to stand on business and I'm not going to accept excuses from myself, I'm not going to let you accept excuses from yourself either. And as a group, No excuses. Let's go out. Let's make the throws. Let's put in the work and let's get it done. Asked about whether or not, hey, is this what's your goal here? Are you going to win championships? Walker said, listen, I don't know if we're going to win championships, but what I can guarantee you is that we're going to put in the work to win championships. And I want to make sure everybody around me works. Now, obviously, the other position group that he could ensure that with is wide receiver. So if you pair a guy like that with a talent like Cam Coleman, and he's also willing to put into work, and that's your core, everybody who comes in contact with that, Ike, is going to fall in line. And so what you're talking about in terms of like, it not working, like I said, the only way to me it doesn't work is if you don't try. 60-40 run-pass ratio can't be a thing this year. They did. It was 61-39 last year. Correct. 61% run, 39% pass can't be a thing if these guys are going to get the opportunities that they deserve to show they can do it. Unless the quarterback is completing 70%, 75% of his passes. Maybe they accepted them, but you need volume, man, in this game if you're going to have a chance to excel as a receiver and grow. And I think that Hugh Freeze recognizes that. He's going to get them that volume here this coming season. It's going to start this spring.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. We will definitely keep us posted, Mike, as you continue to observe the Auburn practices. Also, man, we have to see how the defense is looking as well, too. Have they announced the scrimmage coming up?
Yeah. So no. Okay. Shocking. I don't know if we've talked about this yet, but shockingly, Ike and I talked privately. 8A is not on TV.
They announced that. I heard that announced somewhere.
I don't know what they're doing, but the War Report is working on a strategy to help bring you guys coverage during 8A. Trying to get an idea of what they'll allow us to do. But if you're not going to be on the plane, I highly suggest that people show up. But I understand that not everybody can show up. Quite honestly, I think this should be one of the biggest springs Auburn's ever had.
Yeah.
If there were a time for fans to show up in terms of like, I think recruits are usually at 8A. They usually have recruits at 8A, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think they have recruits at 8A. Like, it would be a good time to have a good crowd out there. They got really unlucky last year with the weather.
Right.
Hopefully that's not an issue, but April 6th, man,
that was supposed to be a big recruiting day for Auburn last year, 8A, but the weather was just so terrible.
It was terrible. Yeah. And they couldn't even throw the ball because they didn't want to put on a sloppy exhibition, Free said.
Yeah.
Because of the weather. So, if that's not the case this year, I expect to see them air it out a little bit. And if I'm Freeze, I'm putting Cam Coleman on full display for everybody to see. I am. I'm letting him go out there and recruit my program for me on 8A. But we'll see how they handle the scrimmages. And then, again, how much of those scrimmages they let us see is left to be seen.
Getting to some of you guys, Auburn Dad, you gifted 5 War Report memberships. Thank you, good sir. Came back and then said, sucks we don't get on TV. Feel slighted. I bought tickets today. Can't wait to see Cam. He different Coleman. I already got a name for him. I like that.
I like that.
Jay Conwell just gifted 5 War Report memberships as well, followed by Connie Friday Dobbins. Appreciate you by gifting War Report memberships yourself.
3 people. I say, hey, it'd be nice if 3 people didn't look at that. 3 people. See, this is why I love y'all, man, because y'all support us in the most beautiful way possible, man.
Yes,
so we appreciate y'all.
Asking you to receive.
Brad Brownie says they said Coleman was catching against double coverage, and Kane is showing out too.
Yeah, man, I'm iffy on what we can say, but I'm telling you, man, Karen Coleman was just out there living his best life, catching the football. It was very remarkable to watch.
James Barnett says we have a bunch of dog wide receivers compared to last year. It appears they are all buying in this year.
Let me address this comment.
I was about to say I want to address it too, but I'll wait and see what you say and see if I need to add to it. Go ahead.
Like, it's a lot of the same room. And I don't think those guys last year weren't dogs. I think that the thing was just a mess. Jay Fair is a dog, man. He's a dog, and I think he showed it last season. I think that Cam Brown, despite all the heat that he took from people, still has the potential. Now, with these new guys in the room, it turns the heat up in terms of them showing that potential. But like, I think it's more accurate to say we have more dogs in the room than they did last year. But I don't think they didn't have dogs last year.
Yeah, I don't think that the guys last year weren't doggish. I think that they're just a hungrier breed of dog this year because they're younger and they have something left to prove. I think a little bit more than some of the guys last year. Like when you bring in a bunch of 5th and 6th year guys at wide receiver and they're coming in for the most part in the fall, you just don't really have time to like groom those into the kind of room that needs to be able to function the way that I didn't think it was a good mix of guys last year. And again, it wasn't about their talent because they're super talented young men. I don't want anybody to think that they're not talented or doggish. I just think that it wasn't the right environment. It wasn't the right mix. And I think coming in with these younger guys, it's just a different kind of hunger. Right. So it's all good.
I agree with that.
He says to clarify, I'm talking about the ones we added and the ones last year are buying all the way in.
Yeah. Which I agree. Yeah. I agree. They're just different.
Yeah. Buy-in is a thing. And they've said that's come straight out of their mouths about guys buying in. Right. So you got to have something for them to buy into. And I think that the staff has figured that out a little bit as well.
Yeah. Well, listen, y'all, we're going to get to the rest of your comments. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break. But while we're at it, share this video, smash that like button, subscribe if you are new to the channel. We'll pay some bills and we will be right back.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today or check them out online at opelikaRageRoom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com. Thanks, as always, to the sponsors of the War Report. Thank you to those of you who are continuing to support us monthly with your Green Name Gang memberships. We appreciate it so much. If you are a member of the Green Name Gang and you want someone else to get that gift, you can do that right now. It's already been done a few times, as we pointed out, and we appreciate those who continue to do that. Also, if you are a guy out there, it is the season to get your grooming. Listen, summer is going to be here before y'all know it. This ain't even a part of what Manscaped asked me to say. But let me just tell y'all, I went in my backyard. My backyard needs a trim first and foremost. So Manscaped, make a lawnmower for my actual backyard. But it is just foreshadowing for me how hot it's about to be with how much grass there is in my backyard. And
oh my God, I'm dying.
The lawnmower that they're selling right now is something that you need to make sure that you have as part of your whole situation, so that you can get your manscaping on and not your landscaping on. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, use code RAPPORT when you go over there and do that at manscaped.com. Get you 20% off plus free shipping. And your lawn will thank you in more ways than one. Because once it gets hot out there, my guy, it's going to be a problem. So just go ahead and get ahead of it. You know what I'm saying? And make sure that you're ready for all of the things necessary to get your stuff in order.
Yeah, everybody else gets to do. Okay, I'm not the only one.
All right, gentlemen. Let's get back to it. Let's get to some of your comments. Tim Tumaine Taylor says, facts or nah, Cam will be a top two receiver in history for Auburn.
Facts. Yes, it's going to happen. That bar is super low too. So yes.
in today's college football, if Hugh Freeze actually changes this offense and we begin to resemble kind of the modern day offenses that we see today, that's not out of the realm of possibility that Cam can leave Auburn as a top two receiver.
Sure. I mean, again, the last 1,000-yard receiver was Ronnie Daniels, right? 99.
I think so.
Darvin Adams came close in 2010. With just like under 1,000 yards, but there's not a long prolific history there. So yeah, I think top two should be, if he plays as a freshman as well too. So we're not talking about a guy who's going to come in, like miss his whole freshman year and come in as a sophomore. He's going to start padding them stats, baby, from year one.
It's hard to imagine him not playing.
I can't see it.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that. Ant Robinson says, so for all the focus on Cam Coleman, I say Perry and Malcolm will benefit. People forget that we have 4 stud wide receivers.
Here's what's great about having a guy like Cam Coleman. Eventually, he's the type of guy you have to game plan for. And once you start game planning for him, it opens up opportunities for the others to make plays when the ball is thrown at them. So I agree. I think that you're going to see a lot of these guys benefit. Think back to that 2019 LSU team. Like, what did you do with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson?
Yes.
One of the Jeffersons. Right. And what was the other dude? Like Randy Moss's Thaddeus Moss?
Thaddeus Moss, yeah.
And like, man, they had so many weapons on the field at one time that it just didn't matter. And once Chase or Jefferson got hot, Moss got a lot of opportunities that he might not have gotten otherwise, because you had to like pay so much attention to those guys, or you just had to play everybody man up because they had so many dudes. And most of those are guys who are going to win one-on-one matchups. So, yeah, I think so. I think that people are sleeping on Perry. Now, I think you've said this, that he's probably, I don't know now because Cam did some major work, but like in terms of having the prototypical like SEC receiver body already from high school, I thought he was ahead of Cam in that aspect. And I know Ike has talked about, Perry's build and whatnot. Cam has done some work there, but like I don't think that he's going to lose that coming into the summer. So he can make up that ground and they can be a dynamic duo, by midseason.
I'd be curious to see Perry if he could hit the ground running for sure. Again, it's difficult to make that leap getting and rolling in the summer, but we'll definitely keep an eye on him for sure.
Yeah, and to be clear, nobody has forgotten about Perry Thompson and Malcolm Simmons. They're just not on campus yet. So the conversation is focused on the guys who are here already.
Correct.
Once Perry Thompson gets here, there will be plenty of people talking about Perry Thompson.
For sure.
Listen, man, people couldn't stop talking about what's his name, Caleb Burton when he got here from Ohio State. When he got here, and they were just like, "Oh, the Ohio State guy," and it's just like he ain't even did nothing yet. And they're just like, "He's gonna be amazing. He was from Ohio State. Ohio State's got receivers." Burton. And it's like, hey man, calm down, man. Get it. So there will be plenty of Perry Thompson hype in the fall.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Ray Snow says, "War Damn Eagle, I'm just ready to watch some football. I just hope we have a way better year this year. I hope our offense looks competent this year."
Yeah, look, man, I think everybody is football starved. College football has one of the longest off seasons of any sport. It's tough, but we do get this spring. You get 15 practices to include your A-Day, and Freeze is going to I think he's going to make the most of it this spring. So we're going to try to bring you guys some unique coverage in the coming weeks as they give us more access. One of the things that Hugh Freeze does that I love the most about this particular coach is they're like 20 minutes and that's it. And then we get out there and Freeze is like, but what about 20 more minutes? And we're like, okay, guys, we're not helping you. So looking forward to
that. Drake Barefoot got in the act and gifted 10 War Report memberships. Thank you, good sir.
My God.
Thank you, good sir. C says, say balls. I gotta say it. I gotta say it.
I chuckled when I read that. I was like, I had to start this one. Maybe I'll do it later, man. You can't listen. I'm not saying that on command. Let's just chill out. All right.
Hilarious. Okay.
Manscaped pays me to say it. Let's just say it that way.
Hey, Manscaped, could you get Ike to say balls?
Balls.
Brad Browning says, my question about all these stud freshman wide receivers, is it realistic to expect so much out of them all?
Well, what's so much, Brad? Like, is it realistic to expect like 40 catches from each of them? If the attempts go up, and you guys have heard us talk about this segment after segment, if the opportunities are there, I think it's realistic to expect an average amount of production out of them. That production has been below average because the opportunities have been below average. We're looking for them to raise the bar in terms of how much they pass the ball and how much they trust the quarterback to pass the ball. Now, there was a feeling around Thorne last year that they did not know how good he was because of the talent around him. Now you've gone out and you've got other talent. I never really agreed with that narrative, but, at some point, you went out and you got the talent. So, yeah, I think it's realistic to expect them to raise the bar off the floor and somewhere in the area of normal, at least in year one.
Okay. Corey Weber says, is J.C. Hart ready to make a move in the secondary?
No.
Can't hear much for this speedster since he's
Yeah,
gotten Auburn.
And so I say no definitively, not because I don't think J.C. Hart is talented. I say no definitively. I just think he's got too many guys in front of him right now in that room as far as like what they're asking him to do, that I think that I don't know that he's going to jump in front of the guys that are already in front of him in line, man. Like when you talk about K and Lee, I can't find anybody who tells me K and Lee's not a dog. Like right. K and Lee is just out there ready to make plays, and he did it, his freshman season. And there have been some high praise for the kid that came over from Bama, whose name is Kite, who came over from Bama. I've heard some good things about just the way that he plays the position and just his natural abilities. They're trying to refine some of that stuff, but he's he's definitely got it in that DB situation. Then when you go and you look at guys like JD, Rem, or Rhyme, I can't remember how to pronounce it properly, but he is another guy who's kind of always been in that second tier, ready to make that leap. If you give him his opportunities, he's going to go out there and do it. I just don't know that J.C. Hart is in that next level conversation right now. And the safety room is loaded. So, he's got to find his place. And that's a guy who I wonder whether or not he's going to be able to find that in the short amount of time he's got before the window closes for him. So he's got to figure out kind of how to stack days a little bit better than what he's done so far.
Grab a couple more here. Jay Flower says, I pray Cam Brown gets it together.
I've actually heard that Cam Brown came into this spring really focused.
Yeah,
really focused.
Yep.
And he has the physical tools, right? He's got the makeup, he's got the look. The question is whether or not the problem that Cam Brown has right now is he going to get the opportunity to show all of the work that he's putting in, right? Like, and I don't know that he will, because there's only so many spots that are going to be, and he needs to take better advantage of the limited opportunities he may get, right? Like if he's only going to get 3 targets in a game, these need to be the best 3 targets he's going to get so that they can start to trust him a little bit more in those game situations. But yeah, I heard he came in focused this year, and so I'm hoping he makes that next step.
Yep.
Jay Flower says, question from Mike G. You were right about Jarquez, Jay Fair, K and Lee. Your opinion, who's next? And I call Mike Unk.
Look, I'm going to be loud and obnoxious about this until such a time that, I'm proven wrong or the streak continues. To me, Walker White is the next, guy that's just, it feels like cheating to say Cam Coleman. It just feels like cheating. But I think that the QB position is one that's harder to predict. And I'm standing by my statement. I don't think that I was really excited about Jarquez Hunter. I thought, Jay Fair, based on the information that we had gathered and after, seeing him in action and talking to that young man, that he was going to be somebody who would make an impact. I just think Walker White, man, has all the things. And, once he gets a chance to show it, from game one, you're going to see why. So Auburn has to figure out the QB, Rubik's Cube that they got going on here. And it's been so frustrating that for a program that's recruited at the level that Auburn has, going back to Gus, average top 10 classes, that we haven't seen more good QBs either come through or develop into all SEC QBs on the plains. This is what Hugh Freeze got hired to do, if you ask me, is to change that narrative, because it's directly tied to how well your offense is going to move and function year in, year out, man. This is a quarterback's game now. And I'll die on that hill.
Well, listen, we will definitely keep you guys posted with some of the football news. But let's get to basketball. It's tournament season is March. The madness is about to kick off. Auburn takes the court on Friday. Auburn was able to secure one of the top 4 seeds, and they will be awaiting the winner of South Carolina and the winner of the Vandy Arkansas game. Arkansas came back.
Yeah.
Vandy jumped on them.
Was doing work in the first half, but not so much second half.
Yeah, Arkansas has a 4-point lead. We'll see if they hang on to move on to face South Carolina. Regardless of who advances, this is going to be a revenge game. Auburn beat all 3 of these teams. And if it's a situation where South Carolina advances, they got done wrong. They got done a little dirty in Neville. Obviously, they're looking for some revenge. But Ike, are you concerned? Are you really concerned about the makeup of this South Carolina team going against Auburn? Is there anything that we should be concerned about? Anybody can get hot in a given day. So is there anything about South Carolina that concerns you?
So if South Carolina takes care of the basketball better than they did in Neville Arena, that's a possibility of it being a problem. The issue, or the reason why, and these words will definitely come back to bite me if it doesn't come true, but let me just step out here and do my book for a minute.
Okay.
The reason I'm not worried about South Carolina is because they don't shoot the 3 well enough to be a problem for Auburn, and they're not a team that really functions off of havoc. If you notice, if you go and you watch the games that Auburn has not played well in, right, and you go look at all of their losses, there's a common theme amongst the teams that Auburn has lost to in those games. Their ability for their guards to create havoc for our backcourt, and the ability to shoot the 3 proficiently in that game. Whether they're a good 3-point shooting team on this year or not, they shot the 3 well in that game. So, you go and look at the first half versus Alabama. That's what happened, right? They got pressure in the backcourt, on the guards, and they shot the 3 out crazy. Kentucky, Florida, App State, Baylor. It's the same thing every single time. That's not how South Carolina plays ball. And so I just haven't seen Auburn lose to a team that's built the way South Carolina is built yet. Not saying that they can't. I just haven't seen it happen yet. And so I'm not as worried about them. And really, none of these 3 teams are built that way. Like, they're not proficient 3-point shooting teams that cause havoc with their guards against guards. They're, Arkansas maybe can get hot for a minute. They haven't shown the ability to sustain that very much. So, none of those 3 teams scare me. But, listen, every dog has his day, and whatever cliche you want to throw out there. So,
every hog has his day.
Nah, screw them.
So let me ask you guys this. Speaking of revenge, the winner of Auburn versus whoever it advances gets to play Tennessee. Auburn played Tennessee about as well as you can play them. Dalton Connect just went off. Auburn has to have revenge on its mind, but in your opinion, how did Auburn execute the perfect game plan against Tennessee? And then what do you do differently to account for the possibility of a Dalton Connect just going off again? I don't even know if you can, but what does Auburn do differently in this game?
I think that at the end of the day, the home court advantage for Tennessee definitely meant something in that game. I don't think Auburn had a bad game plan. When a guy is out there hitting, indefensible shots, like, what do you do with that? Yeah, I had a hard time looking at that game and finding fault with how Auburn approached that game. So, look, on a neutral court, I think Auburn can win as long as they don't have any major letdowns in terms of how they normally play. You're taking how Tennessee normally plays versus how a very good defensive team in Auburn normally plays. I'm not banking on Dalton Connect having 2 games in a row versus Auburn like that.
Yeah.
Just not.
I think
Just not.
the bigger thing that Auburn has to focus on, because if you guys remember, Dalton Connect really didn't go crazy until the second half of the second half, right? Like the first half, he hadn't really done a lot of damage. Like it was just kind of a normal day, and he actually kind of got held in check in the first half of that game as far as numbers are concerned. He just went crazy in the second half of the game. I think it was the way that Auburn started the game that was more of a problem, right? Like too often Tennessee was able to get, which I mean, some of the looks that they gave him were like looks you want to get. You got Adu stepping out, hitting 12-foot jump shots. You're like, okay, that's not typical for them. They just, the defense wasn't good early, and then Dalton Connect went crazy late, which makes your defense look bad late. And Tennessee came out very well prepared defensively, and Auburn got off to a slow start offensively. I think if Auburn gets off to a better start in that game, even with Dalton Connect going crazy, you win that game because you have less of that parity that's happening there in the middle. So it's really going to be about the start for me for Auburn, because Dalton Connect proves in just about every contest this year, he can finish games well. So you just need to be able to give yourself a better start so that you can absorb the Dalton Connect finish.
Yeah. I agree.
What are we thinking about this tournament? How far does Auburn go?
I think that if they don't win at least one game, that would obviously be very disappointing. You got a Friday start. So I think Friday at 2:00, Auburn is up, and you got to find a way to win a game in the SEC tournament. And for me, obviously, they're going to make the NCAA tournament. This is about momentum going into the tournament. That 2019 team went on an incredible run that ended in a tournament win. When we sat down with Stephen Pearl, he talked about how they should have lost in that first round versus New Mexico State.
Yeah.
And then they, after that, went on to beat the 3 winningest programs in college basketball history in the same tournament, back to back to back. So you got to have that good momentum, I think, going in, because when tournament time comes, anything can happen. You're going to see a lot of crazy stuff happening. And if I'm sure of anything in this SEC tournament, it is that my hate for Arkansas fans and Bama fans is solidified. They are some of the worst people in sports, especially Arkansas fans. I didn't even really know they existed.
It's going to be real quiet.
Yeah.
It's going to be real quiet for them this year.
Yeah, I hope so, man. And we're watching this, Vanderbilt is trying to find a way to get back into this game. Looks like they're going to be down 4 here with a minute and a half left. But if they could just eliminate them from existence tonight, that would be great, I think, for the whole of college basketball. As far as Auburn's concerned, like I said, it would be nice to see them win the SEC tournament. It would. It's not completely necessary. I don't know how much, guys, they changed their standing with an SEC tournament. Right now, they're slotted as like the last 4 seed, I think. And how much more can they improve their seeding with an SEC tournament win? Right. They also think Bama is like the next to last 4 seed right now. It's okay, whatever. But like, I just don't know. I think this is more about momentum than it is anything.
I like your thoughts about where Auburn is. How far do you think they go in the SEC tournament? How you feeling?
Ah, man, Auburn's winning the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
Screw everybody else. Auburn's winning.
Okay. All right.
And listen, that is part book, part they should win it.
They should
right?
win it. Yeah.
Like this team's good enough to be able to win an SEC championship in the tournament this year. Listen, the 2 teams that likely they will face in semis and finals are 2 teams that are really good basketball teams. When you're talking about Tennessee and you're talking about Kentucky, I think you played Tennessee, as we already said, about as good as you could do without winning. And you played Kentucky about as poorly as you could and got beat pretty badly, right? Like I don't think that you could have played much worse than you did in that. Florida was worse, but like you just shot the ball like crap in that game.
Right.
And again, I anybody who wants to debate me on it was because Kentucky played good defense, I really want to watch the game back with you, and you show me why you say that. Everybody has instances where defense was played well in games. Sure.
Yeah.
That game was not a result of Kentucky locking Auburn up. It just wasn't, right? Like, Auburn had some moments where Kentucky did good against them, but I just don't think that's the story of this game. People gave Kentucky way too much credit in that game. But you know, the problem for me with Auburn versus Kentucky is Kentucky can just score and score and score and score. So Auburn's got to have probably the best defensive game that they've had thus far this season to be able to beat a team like Kentucky. And they can't shoot the ball like they just woke up that morning and just decided, oh, hey, man, I think I want to try basketball today. Like, you got to continue to score the basketball properly. So,
yeah. James Barnett asks, fellas, what's more likely, we win the SEC championship or we win the national championship?
SEC is more likely, just because there's fewer games necessary to do it, and I think that Auburn has a good path to get there. So that's more likely, but I think that both of them are probable. Right? I don't think that it's improbable that Auburn could go to a national championship this year. It's just harder to do.
And it's over a weekend as opposed to 3 weeks, right, to get to the national championship. So it's if you get hot in a weekend,
right,
you got to feel good about that. So I have to agree with you there. Ike. Good conversation, gentlemen. Good talk. Ike, tell the folks what they need to be doing, sir.
You need to come on board with the Green Name Gang, man. Hit that join button, and you can get on board with this great community that we have. I've enjoyed talking with you guys on Mondays. We'll try to keep that going for as many Mondays as I can make work with my schedule. We're trying to find a time that works really well for the most people. So maybe I'll put like a poll up in the membership community and see what you guys think about that. I don't know. We'll try to find a time that works really well. But appreciate you guys for becoming members and staying on board with us through the off season, because we got great content for you. If you are a member and you want to gift a membership, as so many have done already today, then you can do that right now. Lock in with the network. The Auburn Express Uptempo podcast and the College Loop are all great content creators. In just a sec, we haven't been doing a lot of just a sec stuff, but trust me, we will be ramping up some of that stuff as we get more comprehensive coverage of the SEC. And once again, make sure that you check out our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped.com, using code RAPPORT. Wait for it, balls will thank you.
Hey.
Your balls.
Guys, before you get out of here, please share this video. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can find us on social media. That is Twitter, X, IG, and Facebook at The War Report. We are TW Report for TikTok. That's it for now, guys. We will definitely catch you on the morning drop for Friday. Until then, enjoy the rest of this game.
Man, he stole the ball. Oh, he's going to hold it for a final shot?
And War Eagle. See you guys.